Hi, I'm Ladonna Griffin Hinesley. This oral history is a part of Foley First Presbyterian Church's centennial celebration. I first began worshiping at First Presbyterian in 1983. I was newly married and had just moved to Foley. Other than my husband, I didn't know anybody in Foley. I had been a member of both United Methodist and Southern Baptist churches at that time, and would probably have chosen one of them. But we met the young minister of First Presbyterian Church, Julian Walthall, and he was well known in the community and well spoken and very friendly, and we decided to visit, in spite of the fact that I knew nothing about Presbyterians. We liked the church, and one of the first things that I did was join the choir. What a great group of people. I'll name some names of the members at that time: Buddy and Jackie Yarborough, John and Martha Robinson, Donna Parker, Jean Thompson, Smokey Denton, Chuck and Betty Carneal, and Phyllis Montgomery, who was soon to become one of my dearest friends. The pianist-organist was Louise Greenwald. Soon after, another young couple, Steve Pierce and his fiancée Gay, joined the choir. Soon after I started singing in the choir, we got a new director, Don Snowden, who just happened to be the high school band director. There was always a lot of lighthearted banter going on back and forth. Most of it was between Don and Smokey. I don't remember how we sounded, but choir practice was always entertaining. Another way that I plugged into the church was through the ladies' circles. Most of the ladies' circles met during the day, but there was one that met at night for the women who worked. It was a wonderful way to get to know more people. We met in each other's homes, and I looked forward to those meetings. Somehow it provided a sense of security. There was so much change going on in my life at that time, adjusting to life outside of college, a new job, a marriage, moving and establishing a home, being in a new city. And those meetings provided just a sense of security, as well as the study and fellowship that we enjoyed on those evenings. Some of the members of that circle were Nancy Ricks Flynn, Lucille Andrews, Helen Stevens, Susie Davis, Martha Robinson, Donna Parker, Carolyn Walthall, and my friend Phyllis. In 1987, I went through a very painful divorce. Those ladies were there for me. They offered love and support during what was for me a very dark time. They were the family that helped me keep it together. Carolyn Walthall, the pastor's wife, was a gift. When I moved to Foley in 1983, the population of the town was about 4,500. It was a sleepy southern town, and there was not a lot going on. There were very limited social opportunities. Carolyn is a mover and a shaker who never met a stranger. One of her gifts is connecting people with opportunities for service, and that's both inside and outside of the church. In addition to church, I soon found myself helping her with art projects for the Foley Elementary School. That was before art teachers, as well as being introduced to a much larger part of the community through the Foley Civic League. In 1989, I moved back to Birmingham, partly to be closer to family, partly to work on a master's degree. I spent 9 years in Birmingham and visited my friends in Foley and the church whenever I could. I got that degree, and finally the call of the Gulf Coast brought me back to Baldwin County. There was no question about where I would worship. The congregation had moved from the old building at the corner of Austin and Violet to the current campus during that time. The building was different, but so many members of that congregation were still like family. And the most wonderful part was that Sanford Turner and his wife Carol were still here. In 1999, Philip and I were married in this church with Sanford officiating, and I knew that I had come home. A high point for our church was in roughly around 2000, when there was a decision to begin a Stephen ministry program. It was a very ambitious program to train lay members to provide care for the congregation. It required a lot of training. Two ladies who were saints of the church shepherded that program into being. They were Beth Ecker and Sarah Leonard. A core group of us went to San Antonio, Texas for training, and we partnered with the Foley United Methodist Church, who were also starting a student ministry program. It was a wonderful opportunity for service and commitment. Those who went through the training learned some very valuable skills. Those who requested and were assigned to student minister had someone who truly cared for them, who frequently lifted them up in prayer, and who walked with them through some difficult times. I really believe that program was a blessing to everyone who was involved. Another meaningful project was in the early 2000s, was a class where we read the Bible in 90 days. It seemed that a large section of the church was involved. It required Bibles, videos, a very dedicated group of leaders who facilitated the groups, and the requirement that you read about 7 chapters of the Bible every day. By the second week, I asked myself, what was I thinking? Yet, the majority of us did it. We read the Bible, and it was a great way to put years of Sunday school and Bible studies in perspective. Looking back, our pastor, Sanford Turner, was never afraid to try something new. The programs I've mentioned, as well as others that were ongoing at the time, provided wonderful opportunities for personal spiritual growth as well as service to the congregation and or the community. Yet it took so many resources and amazing powers of persuasion to even consider beginning some of those programs. And they happened anyway. I can only say it had to be a God thing. And I'm extremely thankful that in Sanford we had such a fearless leader. Because he was because he was there in the middle of each and every one, nudging and cheering and encouraging and cracking jokes. These last few years, it seems that less energy has been invested in programs, and probably because it's been channeled in finding our way through a pandemic and a significant remodel of the sanctuary because of damage from Hurricane Sally. God has watched over our congregation in this too, and I'm thankful for the leadership provided by Jonathan Wallace during this stage of our journey. I remember when I first moved to Foley. By that time, I'd visited a lot of towns across the state, cities with sections of beautiful homes and churches. And I'll admit that I was somewhat disappointed with the plainness of the town and of the church at Violet in Austin with its lavender windows. Do y'all remember those? Also, with this church building, the church facilities themselves are so plain and just plain. Years later, I've realized that this church's treasure is not in the facility, not the structure, not the windows. The treasure at First Presbyterian Church is the people. It's the congregation. It's the people who make it a point to greet visitors, to serve coffee and cookies, to teach Sunday school, to sing in the choir, to participate in a prayer chain, to serve on a church committee, to be there to support someone in the congregation when it's needed. The people who make up this congregation are the treasure of this church, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve alongside them. I'm proud to be a member of First Presbyterian Church, Foley.